Hello again, everybody. This is Derek, and I'm coming back at you with another wargaming and miniature video. In today's video, we're going to continue on with my project updates. Now, in this project update, I'm going to call it an all project update, but in fact, it's really just my AWI project update, but I'm going to explain why. But I am going to touch on my entire project. Okay. If you've been following my channel, you know that I do, or I have, like an O group project. I have a Napoleonic project with my marshals and generals. And I've got an Ancients project with Meg, as well as like a 100 Years War project. And then I've got an AWI project. So I've got like a lot of projects running at the same time. I'm putting a hold on all those projects. My O Group World War II project is far enough along that I don't really need to work on it, other than maybe some terrain, and I need to finish the O Group boot camp. My Marshals and Generals Napoleonic project, I'm putting that on hold because I'm having second thoughts on how I want to do the rules and how I want to base my models. So I'm going to put those on the shelf and get to them when I have made a decision. My Meg project, I am putting that on hold, mainly just because I've got enough armies done and I would like to try some other projects. Okay, so basically all my projects are on hold, and then I am going to restart my American War of Independence project because I have no 15 millimeter American War of Independence models at all painted. I've got the models, I've got the bases, I've got all that, but I don't have anything painted. So this is a brand new project for me, and I want to put all of those other projects on hold so that I'm not distracted but you never know. I might work on those a little bit here and there, but my main focus is going to be my American War of Independence. Now, I have Black Powder, and I have the Rebellion book for Black Powder. And Black Powder is a great miniature set. I like it a lot. But it has limitations. No, not limitations per se. It's just it has it feels right at 28 millimeter, and I don't. It could feel right at 15 millimeter. So, but that's not the focus. I am going to be able to play these rules, or when I put the miniatures together, I am going to be able to use them with Black Powder, but the Black Powder is not going to be my focus. Okay, so I had really gotten into American War of Independence with this rule set, the British Grenadier rule set, which is an adaptation of General de Brigade, right? I don't have General de Brigade, and I always thought it was a Black Powder-esque rule set, but I don't know because I don't own those rules. But having read this, not really realizing what I was reading right here, if these rules are similar to General de Brigade, then I don't think I'm going to go in that direction. because I was playing British Grenadier. I played quite a bit. I based a lot of 28 millimeter models for General de Brigade, and it works fine, but it just felt a little clunky. Like it had too many nuanced rules that I don't know. Maybe it was just it could be my personal limitation, or it could be the rules limitation, or the adaptations limitation, or something. But I really enjoyed these rules. I had a good time playing them, but I've always felt like there was something lacking, right? I even have like 3 of the scenario books, like scenario 1, 2, and 3. Like there's 3. There's 2. There's a lot of scenarios in these books, from White Plains and Brandywine and Monmouth, Camden, Hobrick's Hill. We got Princeton, Guilford Courthouse, and then number 2 has like Trenton, Germantown, a lot. There's even a hypothetical scenario in there. And then there's a couple of scenarios in the back of the actual rule book too, like Freeman's Farm, and something else. I don't remember exactly which. But I've gotten rid of all my 28 millimeter American War of Independence. That's not really true. I still have a couple of units up there that are for sale in my store, but in general, I don't have any American War of Independence playable. And then I saw Land of the Free by Joe Crone, and I decided I was going to get it because it reminded me of some of the Blue Book Osprey games, like Chosen Men and Lion Rampant and stuff like that. But this is a fairly thick hardback. It is done by Osprey Publishing, same game company as those. This book normally goes for $35. I think I was able to pick it up for $15. So I went ahead and picked it up, and I immediately fell in love with these sets of rules. Okay, this Land of the Free is going to be my go-to rule set going forward. It's very streamlined. It's very elegant. It has a lot of concepts in it that I agree with. So this is the rule set that I'm going to use. Okay. Now the question is basing, right? With my Napoleonics, that's a totally different subject, but Land of the Free can actually be played all the way up to 1815. So I could play some Napoleonics using these sets of rules, but that's not really what they were designed for. These are designed for small unit actions, not like squads or not sharps going into a village, not that kind of stuff, but like small company or battalion versus battalion, like 5 or 6 or 12 regiments on a side, each regiment only having a couple of hundred men. So very small engagements, not like the battles of Napoleon, not when you've got tens of thousands of troops on the field. That's not what it's designed for. So basing, it's going to be unique to Land of the Free. They recommend a bunch of different basing styles. There's no definitive, this is what the basing style or scheme is. These are some suggestions. Pick one and go with it, right? And let me see if I can show you some pictures. Okay, so you can see in this picture, these are all 40 millimeter models. So these guys are pretty sizable models. They're not the 28 millimeter. They're pretty big. And the way they were mounted or based was on a 4 square. So 2 figures in the front, 2 figures in the back on a base. A lot like Black Powder, a lot like Napoleon's Battles. You know, pretty much any miniature game out there pretty much does that. Soldiers of Napoleon, whatever. They do a 2 miniature in the front, 2 miniature in the back. The base is deeper than it is wide. And so that's like standard. But let me keep going. Okay, now here's a couple of alternate ways to base your models. There are bases here that have 3 models across the front and 2 ranks deep. So you're looking at 6 models on a base. And if you look here, we got the standard unit size is 3 bases. A large unit size would be 5 bases, according to this, right? According to this design. You've got a couple of large units here. There's a 3 base unit there, and there's a 5 base unit there. Those I really like this basing style. This 6 figures on a base. And they recommend putting it on like a 40 millimeter wide base. Now, if you're familiar with 15 millimeter models, you only need about 10 millimeters for a figure width wise. And so 3 figure frontage on a 40 millimeter frontage base means there's going to be a little bit of gap on the left and right of your figures if you make them tight. You can spread them out, right? But I plan to make them a little bit tighter, and so there's going to be a little bit of a open space on the left and right side of the base. So when you're putting your unit together, each base will have like a gap between where the figures are. So it's going to be very easy to tell, you know, how many bases they are because of the gap. And a 40 millimeter base is really not that big of a deal. And this is a 40 by 30 millimeter deep. And that's what these figures are. And when I did my Napoleonics on the 20 millimeter wide 4 figures, I still went with the 30 millimeter depth because I felt like a 25 millimeter depth, which is your standard Napoleon's Battles basing. When I was doing Napoleon's Battles, I felt like the figures were way too tight and compact in that base. So I just opted to make the bases a little bit deeper. In British Grenadier, he recommends to do the bases a little bit deeper as well, because that will accommodate for skirmishing, charging, or firing units or figures where they're standing there, lunging forward with a bayonet, or if they're standing up, shooting, that extra deep base accommodates for that. And so I took that to heart when I was doing my Napoleonic figures. And in Land of the Free, he also recommends doing like a 30 millimeter depth. So a 40 by 30 and a single, this being a single base, and like a standard unit or a normal unit only being 3 bases, that should be fairly easy to put together those units. Even a 5 base unit should be fairly easy. So that's what I'm going to do. Now there's more than just standard and large. There is small, there is tiny. Let me see if I can. Okay, so the unit sizes they have is tiny, small, medium, and large. And if I only do like a 5-figure base for a large unit, and then maybe a 3-figure base for a medium, the small might be a 2 and a tiny might be a 1, right? I think tiny units are supposed to be skirmishers anyway, so I might base them differently. I was thinking I would base them maybe on a 25 millimeter or 20 millimeter square with just 2 figures on a base to make it look like, and so that I would be able to deploy them in like a skirmish formation. I don't think I'm going to base them individually. I might, I don't know what I'm going to do with that. So that's something I will get to when I get to it. So Old Glory, right? I do a lot of my 15 millimeters with Old Glory. Not only Old Glory, but they're the dominant figure company that I use. And if you get a bag of miniatures, you usually get them in like 48 models in a bag. Now, 48 British or Continentals or whatever, if you think about it, a 5-unit large with 6 figures per base, 6 times 5, that's 30, right? And then if you look at a small unit or standard size unit, you're looking at 6 times 3, which is 18. And if you take that 18 and that 30 and you add them together, you get 48. So one bag of models will get me a large unit and a medium unit. So that's fine. Now, I've been thinking about making a whole bunch of 4-figure units, and then if I ever need, and like maybe make one of them Grenadiers and one of them light or something like that. If I ever needed to pull the Grenadiers off and then make it a 3-figure base or 3-base element, that would be fine. Or if I needed to take a figure base and add it to a 4-figure base, I'd make it a large unit. So I could do a little bit of shuffling, a lot like I did with my Napoleon's battles. So that's not going to be a problem. I think I might just make a whole bunch of 4 base units, unless I specifically decide that a uniform needs to be a specific type and it needs to be large. Then I might have to paint 5 bases for that. Now, in these descriptions, they don't really show any cavalry. They do show artillery, and artillery is done the same way. So you're looking at a medium artillery unit would be 3 bases, and a large artillery unit would be 5 bases. That's a lot of guns for one artillery unit, but in these rules, that one gun doesn't represent like 8 guns or whatever. It only represents a couple of guns. So, yeah, they recommend a 40 by 40 for my artillery, which would be the same as this, right? This is a Dutch-Belgian gun that I'm working on for a commission, but it's the same thing. It's a 40 by 40, and this is a 40 millimeter infantry base with crew. And so, yeah, the artillery, all my artillery going forward, Meg or Napoleonics or AWI are all going to be 40 by 40s. Now, they recommend the cavalry being a 40 by 60. So they're saying double the depth for a cavalry base. What I'm thinking of doing is sticking with the 40 by 30, maybe putting 3 horses on there, and then just use 2 bases together. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. Now, in the larger size, they're square bases. They're 50 by 50 or 60 by 60. 50 by 50 for the 25 millimeter, just like black powder. But does that mean there's only 2 models per base? And then if there's only 2 models per base, why do I need to have it 60 millimeters deep? You know, I don't know. You know, in this picture, it shows the 6 models on a 40 by 30, and you can kind of see there's actually quite a bit of gap between the bases, specifically like on this one. So you can definitely tell where your bases are. I love the fact that the commanders are all on a round base. Definitely distincts them as commanders. I do that with my Napoleonics. They're showing in this picture individually mounted models. Well, these are 28 millimeters. So, and that's kind of like, they call it open order, which is basically your skirmish or your, open deployment. Or I could take my bases and separate them. And that's pretty much what I'm going for but with fewer figures on a base. But I might do individually. It just depends. Now, in all the pictures throughout the book, I've noticed that the cavalry are 2 figures wide, but only 1 figure deep. So, now these are all 25 millimeter models. So, I wonder if I could just use a standard base and go with just 2 figures wide. I don't know. So I'll have to look into it just a little bit closer to find out exactly which way I'm going to go. But just to let you guys know, I am going to be doing a boot camp on Land of the Free to show everybody how to play. I do have a copy of this on my eBay store, so if you're interested in picking up these rules, you can. Now, the reason why I brought these out, not only just to show you where I started, but also there's these scenario books, right? Now, British Grenadier is done a little bit differently on the basing, but it's not something I can't fudge or tweak a little bit. So when I go into the scenarios, like the first Saratoga or Freeman's Farm, I can look at the units that participated, and the way British Grenadier does their force strength is they look at the number of figures, and that's how many, that's how big your unit is, right? So a 16 would be a 4 base unit of 4 figures each, where an 18 would be a 3 base unit of 6 figures each. So it would be designed a little bit differently. They would be considered like a large unit. Large units had like 6-figure bases, and small units had the 4-figure bases. But what I'll probably do is look at the historical documents and see how many men there are, and then adjust my bases accordingly. But I feel like I can easily convert a lot of these scenarios into Land of the Free scenarios, and I could play a whole bunch of different games that way. But yeah, this is going to be my 2025 project. I'm moving really slow. I'm doing my commissions first, which I've got this Dutch-Belgian commission here that I'm putting the finishing touches on. And once I get done with the commissions or any future commissions, then I will start putting together some American War of Independence. I think I'm going to do the Freeman's Farm battle first, and then from that expand my units to do other battles. But that's going to be my primary focus, is Freeman's Farm. It's a pretty straightforward battle. 3 commanders against 3 commanders. There's some Hessians and there's some British against a bunch of, you got Arnold and Poor. Cadwallader, I think, is also there. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But it seems to be a fairly straightforward battle, like a meeting engagement almost. And I think it'd be good to get my feet wet doing those figures and then advancing from there. I'm going to do everything in 15 millimeter. Now, cavalry, there's not a whole lot of cavalry in the American War of Independence. They were used primarily as like recon and scouts, but there was enough cavalry being used. Plus, they dismounted to fight and stuff like that. So I don't know how, do I need to make cavalry units, and then do I need to also make dismounted units? Plus I need to do like American Indians, and yeah, so it's I'm gonna have a good old time doing that. All right, guys, that's it for today's update. I just wanted to let you know where I stood with all my projects, and I will catch you in the next one.